Hello, Laziali all over the world. Welcome to another episode of Lazio Lounge. If Luis Felipe was making a point to not having a new contract with Lazio, I thought yesterday the first 35 minutes were the right move for him. I thought he made look Patrick like Paolo Maldini. Alison Mespenzi already coughing from after yesterday's performance. Unbelievable, embarrassing, I would say, performance from Lazio. It was a tough game. We knew it away against AC Milan. AC Milan playing particularly well, but I didn't expect that type of match from Lazio.
No, it was dreadful. It was really, like you say, it was embarrassing to go into a cup quarter final and lose 4-0. Terrible result for a club of Lazio's standing and history in this competition. It was a weird game, I would say, because Milan basically had about 4 or 5 chances and scored 4 goals. But it's not the first time this season we've said that, is it? That teams do tend to take their chances against Lazio. It can't be a coincidence. But yeah, it's just a bit of a roller coaster at the moment, isn't it? Because a lot of anger after the market, then a lot more cheeriness after the Fiorentina result. And I think that Lazio just took a lot of backward steps in many ways in this game. Not only the kind of same old questions about mentality, blackouts, all this kind of stuff, but the defense obviously was a disaster, like you say. And also I think Sarri got it completely wrong this time, having got it completely right against Fiorentina. And that was another frustrating thing. So not good enough.
Let's start from the starting 11 because AC Milan pretty much put all the starters, right? I think it was the same team that played in the derby, what was it, Saturday, while Lazio made a couple of changes, starting from Reina, who has a decisive role probably in the performance, Hisai, Cataldi, Basic, and I was surprised to see AC Milan playing with all the starters, but once you realize that, maybe probably make some changes because the gap between the team were too big to do something.
Yeah, but like I say, I don't feel like my big takeaway from the first half, for example, was actually just that it was a really dull game of football. It wasn't a game where Lazio were actually being dominated. They weren't doing anything. It's not like it was a game Lazio should have been leading or anything like that. But there was essentially nothing happening in that first half. There was no quality anywhere to be seen, apart from the moments where Milan scored their goals. And look, yeah, it's Romagnoli picks a great pass for the opening goal, and Leao does well to finish it. But the defense just melts at the end of that first half, and then it's game over before you know it. And I just think that it's hard. Like Sadi said, it's hard to explain. He said he hoped it might be a physical problem rather than a mental one, but I think it's quite hard to stand up that argument when you consider that we've just had an international break. How can it be? He's rotated the team and they've just been off for a while. So surely it can't be a physical problem.
No, and one of the worst player on the pitch, his eye didn't play last Saturday. So, you cannot say that he's fatigued or tired. And you mentioned the first goal. I mean, his eye keep everyone on side. Luis Felipe has just one job, check where Leao is, and he doesn't. And probably Reina could have done something better. Someone mentioned that against Fiorentina had a great chance at the beginning of the match. Cabral shooting on target, Strakosha making a good save, nothing special, but a good save. And from there, the match changed, right? Yesterday, sliding doors. Milan had the first chance and they score. Reina didn't do any good save, and that where things gone wrong, right? Is it something that makes sense, or do you think we cannot blame Reina that much?
Well, I mean, I think a portion of the blame you can give to Reina, but it definitely the result wasn't his fault. It was a game where, like I say, I just don't think anything worked. The defense is obviously going to take a lot of heat for that because it's 4 goals conceded, and 2 of them were just from balls being played across the 6-yard box, which nobody's managed to do anything about. The fourth one, dreadful again, just inability to clear your lines from a set piece. So yeah, it's a reminder of the fact that despite those 4 clean sheets in a row that we were celebrating, this team has a hell of a long way to go, really. But I don't know. I mean, I've seen a few people pointing to the fact that Lazio was left out. Why would you leave out Lazio if you're up against a player like Lau? Do you think this is kind of classic hindsight, where people are, of course, are saying that now that we've lost 4-0, or do you think that generally now there's an argument, not just as Lazio being Lazio's better attack-minded right back, but that Lazio's just generally better at everything as a right back than Isai has been?
Well, I can understand why Isai, like you were mentioning Leao, Milan came outside, and so you probably Isai who should better in defending, which he didn't yesterday. He was a disaster. But I think Lazio has proven the last couple of matches that he's by far at the moment the best left back, right back we have, because even Marusic, I think it was the third goal. No, the fourth. Yeah, the third goal. I mean, you are 1 meter from the goal line. Why you shouldn't be marking Giroud is something that is beyond me. So both Isai and Giroud had a terrible match. And again, I thought Lazzari has proven to be the better option we have. But I mean, now it's too easy to say it, but I thought it made sense to start Isai. The problem I feel is that Isai in the last couple of months had been not terrible, but not playing very well. And from a player who has already been with Sarri a lot of time, he shouldn't be making those stupid mistakes. So that's the most concerning part. And the other thing is, I think the third goal was the game over, and we were attacking. It was last minute of the first half, and you make such a silly mistake, allowing Milan an easy counter attack. That's not only the defense; that's even the midfield that didn't work at all yesterday.
Yeah, but nothing really worked, did it? Because the midfield failed to really take control of that game, to dominate possession, to create much to help the attack, and the attack was basically invisible because it's hard to think of a single real Lazio chance. I mean, there was that long ball to Ciro where he tried to kind of take it over Mignon, but beyond that, I mean, hardly anything happened, like I said. And it makes it for me an even worse kind of game, where I felt really angry after the game, not just because Lazio had lost 4-0 and gone out of the cup, because it just felt like a huge waste of precious hours in my life, where not only had this happened, but it had been a really boring game as well. It was a 4-0 game. At least if that's going to happen, let a team blow you away and dominate you, and you can see some good football. And Milan's goals, they took them well, but it was a really dull game despite being 4-0.
Yeah. Again, as you mentioned, I don't remember great saves from Reina, right? I think all the shot on target was pretty much goals. And
are you talking about the last 2 years, or are you talking about last?
both, honestly. But the weird thing is that our defense was awful, and our attack didn't show up. I mean, where were the players? At a certain point, I felt like we were 2 men down. Instead, we were 11 against 11. Our midfield was pretty much invisible. And then I don't understand why bring in Leiva, Luis Alberto, and Pedro at the beginning of the second half when the match is pretty much over. Do you think he did it just to avoid allowing Milan to score out of 3, or because he thought, okay, I change it, maybe I can come back and push it to extra time?
I mean, I think he looks to the bench and he sees those players as being the most accomplished players he's got available, and it's kind of what it is, really. I mean, Lazzari's a classic kind of player to bring off the bench if you're needing a bit of a push. Pedro is an obvious choice, I guess. There's not much to be won from a situation like that, I guess. So it's kind of disappointing, maybe, that we didn't see a slightly more adventurous replacements, maybe Cabral debut or
Kamenovic.
Kamenovic, yeah. Some of the fruits of the best ever January transfer window.
Absolutely.
Would it be nice to see, the evidence of the best ever transfer window we've had?
And I think this is a perfect assist from you, Alison, because I was thinking that the gap between Lazio and Milan, Inter, Juventus, and Napoli have become wider and wider. And I think this is due to the amazing last 3 years of transfer market from Lazio. While Inter, Milan, Napoli, and Juventus were improving their team, if you go and see the last 3 years of signing of Lazio are pretty much all out. Johnny is on loan, Murici is on loan, Vavro is on loan, Durmisi is on loan. So I think that 2-3 years ago, the gap wasn't that wide. And we remember Inzaghi's Lazio was fighting for the Scudetto at a certain point. Now the gap is huge. Look this season. Lazio have played against Juventus, Milan twice, Napoli, Inter twice. We won just one match. And if I'm not wrong, we didn't score any single goals against the other team. We are 6-0 down against Milan in 2 matches, 4-0 against Napoli in 1 match, 2-0 against probably the worst Juventus. And again, we didn't create chances against Juventus. We didn't shot on target. Against Napoli, I don't remember creating chances. 2 matches against Milan, again, no chances at all. Am I wrong, or does it make sense that the gap is getting bigger?
No, no, you're not wrong. I mean, look at a team, look at Inter, for example. I mean, it's easy to point to the fact that Inter have more money than Lazio do, but look, that's always been the case over the last 10 years. When Lazio have been either competing with Inter for top 4 spots or finishing above them at times, Inter have always had more money than Lazio at this stage.
Yeah.
What's turned Inter into this team has been Beppe Marotta, in my opinion. I think that's the most important signing they've made of anyone, has been bringing in Marotta from Juve. And, you look at the direction Juve have been in since Marotta left, and look at the direction Inter have gone in since he arrived. It's the ability to build a team and give it what it needs to improve in a very kind of slow and concise way that slowly builds the team up. And it hasn't been that slow, but they've gone from, I think, 7th to 4th to 1st in 3 years was their progression, I think. And now they're up there among the elite again. And now it's easy to say, oh, of course, they've got Suning, they've got all this money, but that's not the reason this has happened. It's been good planning, good decision-making, good appointments.
Yeah, you can easily waste money, right? And we can make another example. Now, this year, Lazio, probably for the first time, have played better than Atalanta in the 2 matches we played, but we didn't win, right? We cannot say that Atalanta has more money than Lazio. But
yeah, exactly.
They did much better summer transfer, winter transfer, selling players at the right time, buying youngsters that become better, etc. And again, I have to face that Atalanta, even though in the 2 single matches we played better, has a better team, probably has better option, right?
More probably, depth, definitely.
Probably Sarri helped us in the last 2 matches, but I mean, we cannot say that Atalanta has more money than us, but they use it much better. I mean, I know people will write 20 millions about Murici wasted money. Yes, we can say it's wasted. 11 of Vavro mean that Lazio wasted 31 million euros. That it's a lot for us. So, we already don't have that much, and we throw it in the bin, while the other team use them wisely. This is how the gap increased, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I don't think last night could have gone any worse from Igli Tare's perspective, because yeah, I mean, this coming up here from Hartos is a good point. Marotta, with less money, built a good team this season because they brought in Dzeko for absolutely nothing, because they could see the potential he still has within this league despite his age. They brought in Çalhanoğlu because they were smart to take advantage of his contract situation from Milan. They brought back Di Marco, because they've put him out on a good loan. They've added to the squad kind of slowly but surely. Probably the only place they splashed out money was on Correa, which has probably been their worst signing of the lot. But last night, Tare's strategy, in inverted commas, was kind of there for everyone to see, because what happened, Vittorio, was our defense was a complete calamitous mess, because that's what it has been for most of the season, despite the recent run of clean sheets. So the spotlight was shining on the fact that there is very few options there. And on top of that, to make matters worse, Ciro goes and gets injured. What do? We throw on 18-year-old Raul Moro and hope for the best, because we don't have, now that Maric is left, there is literally nobody in the squad who is a striker, a recognized striker.
No, no, you're right. And I don't know why after the first half of Luis Felipe, Rado didn't come in. That's a mystery for me. And again, hopefully Ciro will be back for Lazio Bologna this Saturday. But if he won't, we are going to play with Luis Felipe central forward and Pedro and Zaccagni on the sides, because Cabral, that is our latest signing, well, he's on loan. He was injured in the last month and a half, so I don't think he's fit enough to play. So this really is going to be a disaster. And again, we all have to thank Igli Tare for this, because we needed a Ciro Immobile. It's not a surprise. It's not that, we had 5 injuries. No, we knew it. Without Murici, we don't have we don't have a central back, because if Patrick or Luis Felipe gets injured, Acerbi, I don't know when he's going to be back. We have Oliradu. So again, and you're going to say Kamenovic. Now, maybe Kamenovic can play central back. I don't think so. But look, Inter, they went and signed the players they needed, right? Now, we can say that Gusen is always injured this year, etc. But that's a great signing, I think, when he's going to be fit. So, yeah, I think...
And they brought in Caicedo. Give us Caicedo. I want Caicedo back.
Well, I have to say that I don't know how many matches Caicedo will play, because, again, he came back and he's already injured, right? So, but there's the thinking, right? You think about things. Inter has only Dzeko as a number 9, right? So bringing Caicedo, he can play that role. We have only Ciro Immobile in that position, so let's bring a left back, right? Or a left wing. Doesn't make sense, right?
Well, no, exactly. And we talked about this relatively recently, so I don't want to repeat myself, but this has happened all along. It's not even just been this January, and the absolute absurdity of Tari claiming this is one of the best markets Lazio ever had. It's so insulting, honestly. It makes me annoyed every time I think about it. But even looking back, I mean, we've been pointing about this obsession with wingers before, and this idea that when we were in the 3-5-2, still Inzaghi was being given these players who he needed to reinvent. He was being given, Johnny, who's a winger, and being told to basically use him as a wing back, and that's not what we need. He was ending up having to reinvent players. I mean, Inzaghi was great at that. Real, perhaps underrated skill of his was his ability to, put Marisic into the back 3, or it was him who put Patrick in the back 3 when originally he was thought of as more of a wing back, and try and kind of put square pegs in round holes and try and make things make sense, because the squad he was being given half the time didn't make sense. I mean, do you remember
No.
he tried Correa in central midfield at one point because he didn't have any midfielders left, basically. So, and
Well,
this is, yeah, just
you
plan.
forgot that he played Parolo pretty much everywhere instead in goal. I
Yeah,
mean, central back, left back, right back.
the Swiss Army knife.
Yeah, I mean, to be true, he didn't have that many options. Well, he had a couple of youngsters, but we know he didn't trust them, right? Uh, so yeah, I mean, I think the issue is Igli Tare transfer market, and again, saying that that was the best winter transfer market because he was able to uh, send on loan, not sell, send on loan a lot of players that probably will be back the 1st of July because Oli Muric and Babro has the right to be bought by the club. It's
Well,
a disaster, right?
he's like he's backed himself into a corner here as well, because it's not only that he said it's the best transfer market, one of the best transfer markets Lazio ever had, but the reason he thinks this has been a good transfer market is essentially, the subtext to what he's said is that he can't believe Lazio have managed to find clubs for all of his signings.
Yeah,
So that's actually an insult to himself in a certain way, because he's saying, like, we've got all these players who are so bad that it is a brilliant mercato when we've managed to get rid of them, even on loan. And it's like you just signed these guys and you spent a load of money on them, and now you're treating it as a huge celebration
yeah,
to be able to lose that money by sending them away again. It's just
yeah, yeah.
infuriating.
And again, I forgot to mention the only one who's not coming back is Jordan Lukaku because his contract expired. But all the others probably will coming back. Well, we don't know. Murici starts scoring, so maybe he's gonna keep scoring, and Mallorca will sign him. But I think this is a huge problem, and this summer will be really complicated because we have a lot of players that maybe could leave for free because they didn't renew the contract. And at the same time, I think we have to sign a lot of players, not only to replace them, but to improve the team that it's far away from the target, I think. So, and I thought that the match of yesterday would have been very interesting because it was the first big team we were playing, right? Because Fiorentina without Vlahovic is a good team, but not great. Salernitana, Atalanta, etc. So we could really test ourselves against a big team. And the result was, an F, don't know.
Generous. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, probably.
it's well, this is the thing. I mean, we said this pre-match. This is one thing, getting these a decent run of results together in the league, and things were looking pretty encouraging. Seemed like it's going in the right direction, and it might still be. This might just be a blip, but the reality is, it's kind of like an acid test for where the team is, and so I think that's why people are annoyed by it so much. Is that it's a test for Lazio, a chance for them to go to one of the hardest fixtures in the league away and say, okay, we've started the season badly, but we're serious now. And that doesn't even necessarily have to mean beating Milan, but at
Yeah.
least putting up a fight. The fact that they didn't even put up a fight, there wasn't even really a moment from the
No.
when this game started that I thought the Lazio might win that game.
Yeah, no, no, no. We didn't create any chances, and there was any. Not only we didn't create chances, but there wasn't a single moment where you can feel AC Milan was struggling, where we're struggling to stop Lazio midfield. No, it was a totally disaster. And Alazar, this was the first time since a while that Lazio will play 3 matches in a week. And Sari said it right. This team issue is that when they play 2 matches in 3 days, they usually have a drop on concentration. Do you think this is the case, or this embarrassing performance has nothing to do with that?
Well, I mean, it is the case. We know it's the case. We know Lazio struggle with several matches in a week. So I actually put out a poll last night on our account to see what people felt about going out of the Coppa Italia, because it'd be interesting to hear your thoughts in a sec about what Sarri said about the competition. But before then, it was, it is one of these things. It's something people discuss every year. Oh, it's the Coppa Italia. Like, how seriously do we take it? Do we want to be pushing to get, another 2 games on the calendar, or does it not really matter? Whatever. So I basically asked what people's reaction was. There are 3 options. Like, how do you feel about it? One was furious. It means a lot. Second was annoyed. It's the best chance of a trophy. Third was indifferent. It's just the cup. And the fourth one was good. We can focus on the league or Europa League. And more people said annoyed. It's best chance of a trophy than anything else, but only 1% more than furious. So they do care about this. It's not like something that people are just discarding as being a trophy that nobody cares about, a competition that nobody cares about. It does mean a lot for Lazio fans, but it just didn't look like it meant a lot to the players last night, really. I mean, it
Yeah, and the thing, Alistair, is I can understand, maybe you're fighting for the Champions League spot, or you're fighting for the Scudetto, second place, and then you say, okay, we can skip the Coppa Italia this season. But this season was really nothing else to do. I mean, this was the easiest chance, maybe, to reach the Europe League competition. This was the best option he had to go in Europe. And it's not that in the league you're playing extremely well and you're fighting for something big. No, you're not. So especially this year, it was our only chance to shine. So this is what disappointed me more, and I voted that. So I don't think that the players weren't focused. Simply, I don't know, lack of concentration, or simply they didn't believe they couldn't make it. I don't know.
just not good enough, really. I mean,
Yeah.
it's sometimes just that simple. You look at the 11 Lazio put out, and you look at the 11 that Milan put out. How many players would, in a combined team, would you pick from that Lazio team? Maybe Sergei and Ciro, but beyond that, exactly. And you're going full circle back to what we said at the start. It goes to show that gap has got bigger to a club that Lazio were not far away from not that long ago. And that's the damaging thing. That's why there's so much rage about Igli Tare and so on. It's not just a bad mercato. It's not just a missed opportunity here or there. It's like these are the fundamental, changes that chip away at a team's success. And that's how you end up sliding back into being a kind of top 8 team rather than a top 4 team.
And I mean, Milan came back to the Champions League this year. So, in the past years, they were struggling, and we arrived above them. But things have changed massively. I was surprised, Alistair, to see them playing the starting 11, because they are still in the Scudetto race. So I thought they would do some substitution more. That surprised me a little bit. But this tells you even that Pioli wants to win it. And he knows that if he plays the best team, they have a chance. So this was, I think, a message to the team itself. Say, hey, we are playing the best because we want to win this competition.
What did you think about Sarri saying that it's one of the most anti-sporting competitions in the world?
Well, I agree on that. And it's a shame, because I think Coppa Italia could be a bigger event than it actually is. But if you play the best team playing at home, then it's a huge advantage for them, right? I would love so much to see it to become the FA Cup, right? Every team of Italy participate. The weaker team play at home, so stadium would be even full. Big surprise, because obviously this could happen, but you make it much more exciting. I can, and the problem is that doing like this, the first stage of the Coppa Italia are simply embarrassing. Nobody watched them.
Yeah,
Then I can understand that semi-final and final are more entertaining. But if you start from the first round and you do like 8 rounds, then there's a chance that in total you'll have more audience, more people following it. So again, it's a waste opportunity because you could do it like the FA Cup style, right?
Yeah, and FA Cup, it's the same in Scotland with the Scottish Cup, where you throw in the big teams a lot earlier, into the third round rather than into the last 16 is when the top 8 teams come into the Coppa Italia. And it's not only that it creates a much more entertaining competition and a competition more people will watch and so on. It just does a lot for the system as a whole, the pyramid system. And how many teams go bust every year in Italy's lower leagues? I mean, it's crazy how often this happens, that financial problems take down teams. And if you actually have a competition that can give these teams a payday, because
Yep.
I was talking to a friend about this the other day. I remember going to Lazio Cremonese, which was, I think, 3 years ago now, and they put out some crazy, like, 4 o'clock on a Wednesday or something, because they don't care about these games, so they don't even try and get people along. I think I got a ticket for €5. There was maybe like 2,000 people there, and Lazio won 4-0. If you compare that to, I think Cremonese were Serie B at the time. If you put that game on a Saturday night in Cremona and it's their biggest game of the season and they're in good form and so on, it changes everything. It changes the way that that those teams approach the game. It makes it a far more interesting competition to watch, because what you end up with, because of the way it's structured, is just loads of fixtures that you'll already see twice a season anyway. Like Lazio Udinese, wasn't that fun? Having another game against Udinese. Would you not rather watch Lazio away to, I don't know, like Catania or something in Serie C? And I just don't understand why. I mean, I do understand why. It's all money driven, because they think you want the highest possible opportunity of having the biggest teams against each other. So for the organizers, having a Milan derby in the semi-final is a dream. And I don't think it's a coincidence that it works out that way, that Lazio could have played Roma, that Milan could have played Inter in the only round of the competition where you get 2 games. And
I'm astonished that you know about Cremona. I'm really I thought you would go here. We will play at Cremonese. But yeah, I mean, and imagine the Cremonese fan, how happy they would be. Hey, we're playing Lazio at home, stadium packed, etc., etc. So yeah, that makes the competition much nicer and more interesting for everybody. So yeah, it's a big shame, and I think Sari is completely right. Alistair, we have to wrap it up here. Luckily, Saturday there's Lazio Bologna. I don't want to mention what happened the first time we played Bologna this season, but I hope for a revenge. Ciro could be back, hopefully, and we will be back on Monday to talk about this match, hopefully in a better tone and maybe happier for a better performance than this. I think it's going to be really hard to play worse than this, but you never know with Lazio, right?
Impossible, surely. I mean, well, it can't go worse than the last game against Bologna, to be honest. So,
yeah. But we had Murici there.
Yeah.
First and only start of the match of the season for Vedat.
Yeah, but now we've got rid of him in the best transfer market ever. So
absolutely. Thank you again, Alistair. Thanks everybody for listening, and we'll be back Monday. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.